Hello and welcome back everyone. In this lecture we will see what is a string. A string is just a sequence of characters, or you can say an array of characters that you can create by simply enclosing any character within a single quote or double quotes. So whether you enclose characters inside a single quote or you enclose it inside a double quote, for Python both are same. The class name for a string in Python is str, and there is no any character data type here. So if you're coming from any other traditional programming languages like C, C++ or Java, in Python there is no character data type. If you wish to have a single character, there also a string comes into picture, and you can write a character enclosed in double quote or a single quote, but the data type will still be string or the str. Okay, we will try to understand strings using some examples. Alright, so let's start with writing some code snippets. I have the Jupyter notebook open here. If you don't know what is a Jupyter notebook, I would suggest you to go through my tutorial where I have done the setup for Jupyter notebook and I have explained how to install it and how to use it. Alright, so now let's quickly go ahead and create a notebook file where we can write our code snippet. We go to new and create a Python 3 file. Let's rename this file to, we'll call it as example strings. Okay, whatever type here is auto saved and it will be saved here in the ipynb file, that is a notebook file. Fine, so let's come back to our famous hello world example again. You can write a string in a single quote, okay, hello world, or you can write it in a double quote. Both are same, okay, both the types will be representing a string. We can see by using the type. Let's say I say str1 equal to in single quote and str2 equal to in double quotes, and when I print the type of str1 and I print the type of str2, both will be a string class. Okay, so there is no difference. Python understands single quote or double quote as a string. Okay, in the string every character has its own index. Okay, a string is an ordered data type and all the character has its own index. So you can imagine like a string is a house where each character has its own room, okay, or it has its own place where they live. Okay, that place or the room we call it as an index, and the room number always starts from 0. So index always starts from 0. So if we take the first example of a string, the index of h is 0, the index of e is 1, the index of l is 2. So it keeps getting incremented and it always starts from 0. Okay. Now if we want to call out for w, we can do so if we know the index of w. Okay. So here the index of w is 6 because we will be counting the space also. So if we want to print str1 of 6, it will give me w. Okay, so we can use the big bracket to write down the index, and it will print me the value at that index. Another thing to note here is we cannot change the value at an index. Okay, for example, if you want to say str1 of 6, okay, and if we say I want to change it to a, and when we run it, it will give an error. Python will say that it's a type error and str object does not support item assignment. So direct assignment is not possible in the case of strings. However, there are certain inbuilt functions that can be used to do this. There is something called replace function. We will come to those methods and functions in the more detail when we are going to study about the string methods and functions. Another example what we can see here is if we want to type something like this, if we want a string which has a single quote in it. So what do? If we just print it like this, it will throw me an error, right? Because Python will understand that we have started the string from here and we ended up here, okay? And after this, it will say it is an error, okay? You can see the caret, it is pointing to S, right? So the problem, it identifies that from S onwards there is a problem. It says that I agree that there is a string called what, but I don't know what is this S, okay? And after S onward it stops reading and it says it's an invalid syntax. So how do we overcome it? Okay, one way to overcome this is using double quote. So you can wrap everything inside a double quote and then print it. So when we do something like this, this formatting is correct according to Python, and then we can print what's up. Okay, so this is an example of single quote inside double quotes, right? So single quote is wrapped inside double quotes. Now, what is the other way? Can we not use a double quote and still can we print what's up? Okay, yes, we can do that. Let's try that also. If you don't want to use double quote, you can use something called escape sequence. We can use backslash. So in this case, we can also write what's up. And if we want to use a single quote here, in between where we have the character which we want to escape, we can use a backslash, okay? And when we print this, we get the correct output, right? So we don't see an error. So this is another way. Similar case is there for double quotes also. If we want a double quote, str2 equals to, let's say I want to print something like hello Python, okay? What can we do? This should be my output. So for this, if I place thing inside of double quotes and we run it, we get an error, right? We get a syntax error. So one way to do this, we can wrap this double quote string inside a single quote, okay? So a single quote can be at the start and at the end, and when we try to print this, let's print str2, we get hello Python. That's what we wanted. So a single quote and a double quote can be used for each other, right, to wrap. Another way again to do this is using a escape sequence. If you don't want to use a single quote to wrap a double quote, we can also use escape sequence here. Similar to this example, we will take this example. If we want to print hello Python, okay, so I want to wrap it inside the double quote itself. When we directly do this, obviously we are going to get an error. So we are going to escape this inside double quote. To escape this, we can use a backslash here. And when we run it, let's try to print it. str2, okay, we get hello Python. So notice we had to escape this 2 times. We had to escape this double quote also and this double quote also. And the escape sequence backslash should always be before the character, okay? That's how it will work. Another example is, let's say I have str3 equal to hello world, and we want to print hello and world in different lines. Here we can use backslash n, okay? And when we try to print this, we'll print str3 here. We see hello and world, right? So world comes in the next line. So backslash n is a new line character that is introduced between hello and world. Now there is another example. If we want to type a location in my hard drive, let's say I have a folder here inside the C drive, and we want to put it in the string and we want to print it, what happens? Okay, we can do it like this, right? So it gives me C folder, but what if instead of C colon folder we have C colon new folder, right? When we try to print this, we get an error. We get a Unicode escape sequence error, and it says in the position 2 to 3 \n is not having a correct format. Okay, so let's count this position 2. It starts from 0, 0, 1, 2. So the 2 is a backslash. It complains about the backslash. It says that \n is a new line character. So we cannot print it like this, right? But still, what is the way how we can print it? Okay, so to do this, we can do something like double backslash. Okay, when we say double backslash and when we run it, we will see only a single backslash because another backslash will be escaped. Okay, and Python will not understand this as a new line character, but since the second backslash is escaped, the first backslash is printed. You can see first backslash printed here, and the second backslash will be escaped, means a new line will not be formed. Okay, and it will print you starting from n. Okay, now there must be questions coming in your mind. What if I want to only print backslashes? Okay, how will it work? Let's say I have str5 equal to, I want to print only a backslash. Does it print? Let's try it. Okay, so we get an error, right? It says end of line while scanning the string literal. So it was expecting a value before or a character after this backslash, and we are not giving any value, so it throws an error. We can give another backslash as a value. Let's see what it does. It prints one backslash, right? So even number of backslash is allowed. Let's try another odd number of backslash. Let's say 3, 4, 5. If I give 5 backslashes here and try, we get again an error because Python is expecting a character after the last backslash. Okay, any odd backslash or number of backslash is not allowed in Python. So if you are doing that, you have to provide a character, then it will print. Otherwise, you have to keep it even. Okay, we can also find the length of the strings using an inbuilt function called len. Okay, so you can see here, let's try to find out the length of str4. So len of str4 is 13. It counts one backslash. You see, the length is 13. Okay, so it is ignoring one backslash here. Okay, because it is printing this, it is only giving you the length of whatever is printed here. Okay, we will discuss more detail about the string methods and functions in our upcoming lectures. So now that we are familiar with the basic concepts of the strings, in our next session we will focus on more interesting facts about the strings, like string slicing and string indexing. Then we will learn about inbuilt string functions. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thank you all for joining and see you in the next lecture.